Okay, so it looks like the massive government layoffs, they're happening today. They're happening right now. The OMB director, Ross, you know him. He's the trauma guy. We want to put federal workers in trauma. That's what he said. The audience, when he said that, they laughed, they clapped, they thought it was great. That's what we're dealing with here. So Ross takes to social media, because why not? He gets on X and he drops a post announcing layoffs. It says, "The rifts have begun." It's been seen over 1 million times. Shortly after that, the unions respond, saying, "Americans' unions will see you in court." So are these the massive layoffs that were promised to us by the president, by the OMB director? Is this the result of the Democrat senators not voting for the CR? Is this their fault? Is this connected to the shutdown? Probably not. These are rifts that have been planned out throughout the summer months. These rifts were always coming down the line. But because they want to make good on their promise, they're connecting it to the shutdown, which is probably the worst thing from their perspective, because if you connect it to the shutdown, now it could be legally challenged. Now the unions are going to take it to court. So the individuals that you were going to lay off, you've made it more complicated. You've created more legal hoops to jump through. Probably not the best thing for you to do. But anyway, we have an anonymous official over in the administration. The following agencies, according to this official, these are the ones that will receive RIF notices: Department of Interior, Homeland Security, Treasury, EPA, Commerce, Education, Energy, HHS, and HUD. So some of these RIF notices, they've already been confirmed. They've already went out. Let's talk about some of them. First up, Department of Treasury. They've sent, allegedly, 1,300 RIF notices to employees. Now, a good chunk of these employees, they're furloughed. So what does that mean? Are they allowed to touch their computer? Most of the time, during a government shutdown, if you're furloughed, you're not supposed to touch your equipment. But in some cases, the agencies are telling their workers, go ahead and touch it to check your email to see if you get a RIF notice. The important thing about that is once the RIF notice has been delivered, that's when the 60 days start. It's not when you acknowledge it. As an employee, when you acknowledge it, it has nothing to do with the timeline. 60 days starts once they've delivered it. Now, what about they send it to the personal email? Some agencies have been requesting workers' personal email. They could do that. They can also mail the RIF notice, old school, mail it to your mailbox, to your physical address. That's another way that they can do it. Next, we have HHS. They're sending RIF notices today to about 1,000 people. All of these individuals, they have been furloughed. They're not laying off everybody who has been furloughed. They're laying off 1,000 people. DHS. Now, this is one of the president's favorite agencies because you have ICE, CBP, Coast Guard. But there's a sub-agency in there that President Trump does not like, and that's the CISA. And the reason he doesn't like them is because they agree with the 2020 presidential election results. So he sees them as anti-conservative, anti-Trump. And these individuals have been given a chance, a lot of them have, to join ICE. And if they don't join ICE, they lose their job. That's probably part of what's happening here. People are getting RIF notices. They didn't want to join ICE, or maybe ICE didn't want them. One of the two. You have education. They confirmed that they're sending out RIF notifications, but we don't know exactly how many. Also, nothing yet from HUD or EPA. EPA, my goodness, it would be nice if they could get their situation straight, because they've kept their workers in the dark for over the past week. They don't even know what's going on. They don't even know what side's up or down over there. They're confused. Leadership in the EPA needs to disseminate more information to actually inform, at least give some semblance of transparency over there would really be nice. Now, this is a good time to mention that the White House press secretary, the vice president, and the Speaker of the House, those three individuals, they said it's a shame they didn't want the layoffs to happen. And nobody believes them. That's clearly a lie. Obviously, they wanted it to happen. President Trump is giddy. He is so thrilled over these layoffs. He was sitting down the other day saying, well, the government shut down, so we got to do it. We got to cut it. No, you don't have to cut anything. What are you talking about? You got to cut it because the government shut down. There's no precedent of anybody doing layoffs when the government shuts down. It's never been done before. It's never been done before. This is a first. First time it's happened. It didn't have to happen. Absolutely not. But this is a way to poke and prod at the Democrats, to make them feel uneasy, to get their constituents all up in arms and upset. That's what this is about. No other administration has used a government shutdown to trigger layoffs. No other administration, regardless if it's conservative or progressive, Democrat, doesn't matter. It's never been done before, and it's for a good reason. It's not legal. You can't do it. So we're going to find out the hard way when it has to go through the courts. If you were to go on X.com right now and look at the post the OMB director has up there, look at all the responses to that post. You would see hundreds, if not thousands of people celebrating this, as if this is a glorious moment in American history, which is disgusting. It's kind of disgusting to see people so enthusiastic about other people's lives crumbling. And this has nothing to do with the deficit. This has nothing to do with the fact that we're $30 trillion plus in debt. Because if it did have something to do with the federal budget, if it did have something to do with the deficit, then why did we approve over $1 trillion for defense this year? Why is 65% of our spending towards entitlement programs? If you're trying to reduce the deficit, if you're a fiscal hawk right now and you're like, well, the country can't survive because we're under all of this debt and we have to cut federal jobs. You know what the savings is for cutting 1 million federal workers, which right now would represent probably half, maybe even a little bit more than half right now. If you were to cut 1 million federal workers, you would save 2%. What is 2%? That 2%, it pales in comparison when you look at 65%. We spend 3 times more on defense every year than we do on the federal workforce. So do not believe or do not think this is about the deficit. It is clearly not. So what is it about? Well, it's about power. It's about leverage. It's about making the federal workforce more politically aligned to this administration. And that's mainly what it is. So if you get a RIF notice today, you need to save the RIF notice. You need to save any and all emails pertaining to the RIF notice. You need to save text messages. All of that is going to be crucial in the weeks and months to come. Now, this year, 2025, will go down as the year of the great federal workforce purge. People will be reading about this. People will be studying this year in the decades to come. They won't even be able to believe it. And also this year, this is a year where a lot of people who thought they were conservative realize maybe I'm not that conservative, because we saw a lot of individuals go out there and support President Trump with their vote. But when you take, let's say, for example, the veteran community, military veterans, they have deployed to Afghanistan, the Horn of Africa, Iraq, involved in combat, in firefights, hit with mortars, improvised explosive devices, the veteran community. 600,000 veterans plus work as federal government employees. They work in these agencies. Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, they're in there trying to serve the American public. And the way that these cuts have been pushed out the door, it's as if there's little to no thought. It's as if it were probably designed to be the most chaotic possible. It has been radical and it has been extreme. And like all extreme actions, there has to be consequences.